Hey guys, really good to be here. My name's Tommy. This is Charles. We're two of the co-founders of Alloy. And Alloy is a KYC solution that is designed to help you increase conversion through your onboarding flows, through the compliance parts of your onboarding flows. But I'm not just going to talk about Alloy and what it does, and I'm certainly going to talk about that a bit, but I actually really want to talk about the principles that we used when we were building Alloy and what our principles are going forward. I really believe very firmly that financial technology infrastructure is going to be rethought, rebuilt, and reimagined over the next 10 to 15 years. And I think it's important for us all to be very, very principle-driven when we do that, so that we build it out the right way this time. We certainly did that at Alloy, and I want to talk about what those principles are, and I want to tie it back into the specific parts of our product and how we've implemented those principles in practice. Before I do that, we should probably sort of lay out why we exist and like what the problem is that we're solving. So we're solving this product development dilemma, which is that you've got the compliance department on one end, which is often called the business prevention unit, which I think is a very fun name. And their job is to make sure that the bank or the FI or whatever it is in compliance with the law. And that requires turning away a lot of customers often, especially through the know your customer checks. Know your customers, you've got to identify your customers before they come on board. You've got to know what their address is, date of birth, check terrorist watch list, things like that. And there's not really a centralized database in the United States for doing that. So you're going to lose a lot of customers if you just check one source of data and say, hey, is my customer's address found in public records? No, then you're going to have to say no to that customer. That's pretty bad, because you've got the growth team on the other side saying, hey, we need more customers. We need new products. We need our customers on our new products. And I think product developers for online products especially are sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place there. And Alloy gives you the ability to make highly customized versions of KYC workflows that can be automatically pinged via an API to really optimize this process and solve this dilemma. And we used 4 principles when we built Alloy because we really believe in principle-driven development. And the first is that we think all infrastructure needs to be API first. It doesn't need to be API only, but it should be API first. You need to be able to integrate new infrastructure into any existing application, run it anywhere, and not force a UI on your customers. We think that's really important. The second is that it needs to be transparent. I don't think financial institutions are going to be able to buy a product where everything isn't completely laid out for them, where all underlying data, decisions, logic isn't clear, auditable, and traceable. So transparency is core. Being able to be customized is also really, really important. No two FIs are the same. No two compliance departments are the same. No two products are the same. No two customer segments are the same. You've got to be able to customize everything that is underneath your product. And the last is that what we call consolidation. We believe in end-to-end solutions. I don't believe in making a developer's life easier while still laying a compliance analyst, for example, out to dry. So we really believe that the solutions that will really change industries will be end-to-end and will be consolidated into platforms. So let's demonstrate these one by one. So first of all, we believe in clean, simple APIs in the cloud, and I don't think this is a revolutionary concept in general, but it certainly is somewhat revolutionary in fintech. And so let's actually look at our API. And this may bore some of you to death, but hopefully this is something that some developers will find interesting. So when you ping our API, you're collecting data from your customer, and you need to validate it via third parties and get an answer. Can I onboard my customer or not? So you just send some JSON into us, and we'll run this. And you get a pretty simple response that looks like this. Now, we send back a lot of data, but it's actually really easy to interpret, which is that there's just one field that really matters for application logic, which is approved, true, or false. So this customer is not going to be approved for an account. And we can actually see pretty clearly that the reason is their address didn't match. And so this is a really easy set of JSON for a developer to interpret. Like, you just check that field, and if it's true, then you onboard the customer. If it's false, you don't. And so that's great. And so we're API driven. We got a simple API. That's awesome. But the problem is that that's a pretty bad result, right? Like, we're not doing business with this customer. We probably paid a lot of money to acquire them. Like, that's bad. So we don't just want our product to be simple. We also need to kind of understand, like, why did we turn this customer away and what can we do about it? And luckily, Alloy, that is exactly what we've got. So we can actually see why we approve and deny customers in a clean way. because Alloy is actually driven by a workflow tool underneath the API. Every single data source that's checked, every single vendor that you want to use for KYC, every single rule for why you approve or deny customers is right here in this workflow. That's actually built by our customers and fully customizable and transparent. I'm going to leave vendor names out of this presentation, but and we're just going to use like broad terms like public records data or phone carrier data. But you can see in this workflow, for example, this is instructions to the API, and this is telling the API every time we run a public records check and see if you can find the identity of the person in public records. And then it kind of goes from there, and we won't click around too much, but it has backup services to phone carrier data. You might end up, if you don't get comfortable enough with the customer, asking out-of-wallet questions. So it's a set of instructions to the API that is very powerful, transparent. But it's also customizable. So if you remember, our customer actually got turned down for address mismatch, which you can see is right here. This is a rule that's pretty simple, and our customers make really, really complex workflows. We're dumbing this way down. But in this case, we're basically saying, look, if the address can't be matched in public records, that might be a LexisNexis search, something like that, then we're going to turn the customer away. And that's bad. So let's go to our next principle, which is that this is customizable, right? This is we can change this. We have the power. We have the technology. We can fix this problem. And we can fix it by bringing in more data. Just because we can't find somebody's address in public records doesn't mean we need to turn them away. So why don't we go and fix this problem? But before we do that, let's make sure that this is a problem just beyond this one customer. Let's not jump to conclusions. So we can actually check our analytics within Alloy's platform. And because we're using multiple sources and multiple rules, we can see kind of everything that's going on. We can see how often each service is pinged, and that can kind of give us an idea of cost and efficacy of the different services. We can change this to see our customers for the last week as opposed to all time. We can see just customers that are approved and denied. There's a lot of different ways to facet this. But let's look at all results for all customers, and let's see how many of them are getting turned down for address mismatch. In the bottom, you can see all the reasons that our customers are being turned away. And we can see that out of about 1,800 denials, we're turning 602 away for address problems. That's kind of a lot. That's a third of our customers that we're having to say no and sending to manual review. So that's a big problem. I think that's definitely worth changing. And you might be thinking, oh, we're going to integrate a new source of data. That's going to be a whole new API to work with, a whole new data set. It's actually not with Alloy. With Alloy, we're just going to do this with a couple of clicks. So we're going to go into our address match rule, and we're going to say, why don't we actually have a secondary rule here? We're going to pull in some credit identity data, and we're going to say if the address match on that is a no match. Now we're basically saying we're only turning customers away whose address doesn't match both the public record and credit header data. So we've got a sort of a backup, and those databases, they don't have the same data in them. So that's going to give us some more coverage. And actually all we have to do is save that and click make it active. It works like Git, so every version it like creates a new record, and you can push them in and out of production. And now if we run this same person through with this new version, if we did this right, yeah, so now we've actually been able to approve the customer, and we actually had no issues at all. So that took like 45 seconds to add a whole new set of data and like have a whole remediation path for our customers to be able to get through easier. And that's what you want. You really want delightful customer experiences during onboarding. And we give you the tools to really fix that part of your process. All right, great. So we've done that, and we're actually in production with some customers and getting really great results, up to 90% conversion in some instances. So we feel like we've done a really good job with that part. But you know what? KYC, identification, identity management, it really doesn't end at onboarding. There's a lot of ongoing maintenance. There's a lot of ongoing processes that have to be done. And look, we've got this great platform where we've got the data sources that we're comfortable with and the rules for onboarding people, and we can have, it can be more than just approved, denied. It can be approved, somebody should look at this, turn them away. We can have lots of different statuses. So what happens if, let's say, for example, somebody is turned away for a credit product, and actually the credit card company needs to actually give a way for customers that are turned away for KYC reasons to remediate that. So let's say we're turning a customer away and they're going to call in. We don't want to leave this customer service person out to dry having to use old-fashioned manual processes for trying to remediate this problem. We want to give them the same power and the same ability to do what's done in the API. So we give our customers a pretty nice dashboard. They can see all their customers that they've run and whether they've been approved or denied and why. This is kind of a simplified version, but you can see, I actually see my name up there at the top, and that makes me upset. I got denied. I actually am going to have to call into the bank and figure out how we can fix this problem. And I'm going to get my customer representative, Charles, on the phone. Charles, what's going on? Why did I get turned away?
Yeah, I can look at that for you. It looks like your address didn't match. The address we have on file is 234 Stockholm Street. Is that your most recent address?
It's actually not my most recent address. I recently moved, as was mentioned earlier. So let's put my most recent address in there, and let's see if that can fix this problem. Maybe the underlying data sources will have that address. So that's 139 Star Street in Brooklyn. That's in Bushwick, my favorite neighborhood.
All right.
And let's rerun that and see what we got. Okay, great. That took like half a second. That's awesome. And so what happened?
Looks like you're good to go.
Okay, so
that
address was able to fix the problem. Everything's matched. We can kind of look into all the underlying services. You could actually click into any of the underlying data sources and see the raw data. We're not going to show you that right now, but we give you full transparency into all the data that was checked. So that is, we're not hiding anything from you, right? Like, it's your data. You can do whatever you want with it. So that's how we're starting to build it out into not just a developer tool, but a consolidated service. So Alloy is an API that gives you a very customizable way to do effective know your customer checks in the way that your compliance department and product teams are comfortable with in order to maximize conversion. And then we are continually, with our customers, building out functions on top of that to make it a consolidated service and to smooth out the rest of the problems with the Know Your Customer process. We're building out enhanced due diligence tools, analytics tools, and many other things. And we'd love to talk to you more about how we can together make compliance great again. And if anybody from Wells Fargo is here, we have a third hat for you guys that we'd love to share. Thanks so much.